Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar focusing on AI, knowledge management, and how the intersection of the two is critical to building the future workforce. My name is David Flack, and I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at Bloomfire. And before I get to our guest, I would like to point out just a couple of things in our console here. Just next to me, you'll see our Q&A module, and we really encourage you to submit your questions throughout the session. We will try to dedicate some time at the end to answer as many of those as possible. If for some reason we don't have enough time, we don't get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. Additionally, there's a couple of resources just below me. You'll see the Ultimate Guide to Knowledge Management, which our guest has authored, as well as a document outlining the key takeaways. And one more that I'll mention here in just a second. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Tony Rhem. Tony is a renowned expert in knowledge management, artificial intelligence, and information architecture. He's the CEO and principal consultant at Rhem Associates, and he's led that firm in specializing system integration, consulting, training, research in the KM and AI space. He has successfully implemented KM systems and AI solutions across Fortune 500 companies, government institutions, and the military. He has also authored a few books on the topics, and one of those is linked just below if you want to go and buy that on Amazon. I'm sure Tony would support that decision. And Tony, we are so happy to have you here, and thank you for being here. And also a warm welcome to Dan Stradtman, CMO at Bloomfire. Dan's going to guide us through this conversation and help Tony and set Tony up with some questions throughout today's event. Dan's experience is extensive throughout AI and knowledge management, and he has been instrumental in helping companies successfully navigate these fields. So, Dan, I'll hand things over to you, and thank you both for so much for being here.
Right, David, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it. Tony, just so pleased to have you here for the discussion and for all those folks joining us. I've had the benefit of kind of getting to hear you speak at some conferences over the past year, reading some of the volumes of work you've done on just topics that are near and dear to my heart. And it's just been a pleasure to get to know you better too. But, maybe for those on the call who haven't had that same benefit, let's rewind a bit, maybe to the early part of your career. Today, topics like artificial intelligence are, kind of, the topic du jour. Knowledge management is kind of gaining in focus for both businesses and academia. When you think back, 20 odd years ago, what inspired you to really start specializing in that intersection of knowledge management and, AI for what it was back then?
Well, let me tell you, it's a long journey, I didn't come here, I guess, by accident. After graduating from Purdue University undergrad, I went to grad school at DePaul University in Chicago in the computer science program. And in the computer science program, that's when I first got an introduction to artificial intelligence. And that was I started that program in 1985. Now you just can imagine where AI was then. And it was just extremely fascinating to me that one, being in the computer science master's program, that it would have a specialization in artificial intelligence. And I just like, man, this is like futuristic. This is like exciting. So I got involved with that and graduated in 1989 with my master's in computer science. I was like, okay, this AI stuff, I have to get more involved in it. And so my specialization at that time was expert systems and neural networks. And after leaving DePaul, that's when I first started my consulting practice. And in that practice, I managed to become partners with a couple of vendors in the AI space doing expert systems and neural network technology. And actually, my organization became more of a developing arm for the organizations, and I worked with several companies in the telecommunication space, manufacturing space, doing expert systems and neural networks, logistics as well, which is very fascinating to put rule-based systems to understanding less than truckload and tariff calculations, which that was back in the 90s. So I did that for almost 10 years, just AI, specifically expert systems and neural networks. So around 1999, I got introduced to something called knowledge management. I'm saying, wow, this is fascinating. I would say he's a colleague now, but he's one of my mentors back then. Said, well, Tony, with your background in AI, specifically in expert systems and neural nets, I think you'll be really encouraged to come listen to Dr. Thomas Beckman talk about knowledge management. This is in DC. I said, okay, I'll check out this knowledge management thing. And Tom's presentation was so, spot on to me, because I equated knowledge management to putting a wrapper around knowledge, a management wrapper around knowledge. And this is actually what expert systems and neural nets were about, is about enabling a machine to think for you, a very limited way, but able to think for you. And the core of it was about knowledge. And I said, well, AI and KM has some kind of symbiotic, relationship. So then for the next, from 99 through maybe 2014, I was deep into knowledge management and worked with quite a few companies to try to, get them to understand what knowledge management is, how you leverage it, what can you do with it? What is this thing? What is this new thing called knowledge management, and how can we best use it? And I looked at, I positioned myself more from the people and process, and then using technology as an enabler. And so companies, I worked with like that approach. And so for the next, until about, like I said, by 2014, it was a lot of just knowledge management work. And then when we started looking at big data and the processing that was available on big data, more companies started looking at machine learning, doing predictive analytics. I said, oh man, that's my sweet spot. That's my first, I guess, love in technology is AI. So let me go back and kind of say, okay, where are we with this machine learning, and how can I get more involved? And got more involved in machine learning. And I looked at it and said, well, how can I bridge that gap or really make an impact to show how AI and knowledge management really should be synergistic, really should be working together. I think AI actually can enhance knowledge management. And when I talk about AI, I don't want to be, just general about it. AI, to me, when somebody says AI, it's really this big thing, this multidisciplinary approach. It's how I was taught. Because it has robotics, it has vision, it has natural language processing, it has machine learning, and all the facets of machine learning. It has a bunch of other different disciplines. And so I like to focus my AI conversation on what's been prevalent in the marketplace, and that's machine learning, right? And all the different aspects of machine learning. So now I am so entrenched in understanding the different facets of AI and how it plays a role in enhancing knowledge management or enhancing that delivery of knowledge. So, so from natural language processing and things like Gen AI, you have semantic search, and the new search engines, leveraging AI, because search is a big part of KM, understanding how to find your knowledge you need and the context of your knowledge. So all these things are starting now to really blend together. And we're looking at, if you look at from a knowledge management perspective, you say, okay, I believe AI is enhancing knowledge management, and it's giving new life to the whole knowledge management paradigm. But as I move deeper into the AI piece, my focus has sort of detoured a little more into the ethical and responsible use of AI. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged thing, but the innovation is fantastic, it's exciting, things are going on, but it's some ethical challenges that we face. So where I'm looking at AI and KM coming together more and more so with the organizations and vendors, we also have to look at the ramifications of that technology.
Yeah, I know
Not
we've
only in
got some
terms
time.
of KM.
Yeah, we've got some time set to talk about ethical AI because I think that's a really interesting perspective you've got. No, I appreciate that kind of exposition because as you've told that story to me over the last years, one of the things that resonated was one some of these themes are actually a lot older than I think the news media would probably make you believe, right? The fact AI in different forms has been around for a while. It's just taken on a new form, in part because generative AI has captured so much of the imagination. But the other thing you got at, which just to kind of reiterate for all of us, is it's really about this convergence, right? It's this convergence of knowledge management, AI, search, enterprise search type of tools coming together, which has captured maybe a bit more of the executive focus than it has over the past 10 to 15 years. And so, as we maybe shift from kind of your background to the application, without naming any names, you've been able to have this career where you've worked with these kind of big top tier companies to help implement KM programs, software. As you think about those experiences, Tony, what are some of the more significant success outcomes you've seen post implementation? And then, as you go through that a bit, maybe on the converse side, what were some of the bigger challenges you encountered at these organizations to implementing, effective KM AI solutions for them?
Yeah, I've seen in my experience with companies, I guess, where the big win is that they are able to find what they need and, in a reasonable amount of time. After one search, it comes up in the first page. So it has increased productivity, decreased the time to find pertinent content and information, and enhance knowledge. The other piece is that the way it enhances productivity is that with knowledge management, that the essence of sharing knowledge through communities, a community of practice, communities of interest, having a platform to do that, and then capturing that and being able to disseminate it across your enterprise, right? And so that comes with a knowledge of understanding information architecture to enable the search to work better, because the content has been architected in a way that the search can perform its job, indexing of content and relating of content much better. So that has enabled companies to have a win in knowledge management, especially from a customer service perspective. A lot of companies I've worked with focus their knowledge management effort on customer service and being able to have self-service for customers. When you come into a organization site, a customer-facing site, if they have maybe a chat bot that you interact with, they may have frequently asked questions that you can quickly get answers to, and that will cut down on the interaction with their own customer service reps. And so, and that will increase engagement for the customers and have a better customer company interaction. And so that's another win in knowledge management, getting that knowledge available right to the customer's fingertips. So that's been sort of the focus of KM and some of the quick wins there. As we move forward, some companies have started to look at my knowledge assets internally and how my people are able to access that, not only that knowledge asset, but also the people who have been responsible for either using that, building that, or have some additional knowledge. And that's that tacit knowledge that we can't easily capture, but you can align that explicit knowledge through your content with the knowledge holders. That's a big win too for companies, and increased productivity as well. So that was some of the big wins that I've seen, and some of the ways companies have been using knowledge management. And so when you bring in the level of artificial intelligence that can help facilitate that, it's through the use of a lot of times through chatbots, and it's also through some more higher level predictive analytics to understand, when somebody's search for something, you may also not only come up with the document, whatever that you're looking for, but also any associated pieces that you may need to understand. Say, for instance, you're looking for a strategy document. You may also see the template that has been approved to create a strategy document. You may also come up with the people who have actually used the document. It's almost like when you do a Google search, you might also want to see these additional things, or work on search or shop on Amazon. These are other things you may want to buy. It's that related content that gives it context of what you use work for. So companies have really been able to take advantage of that from a knowledge management perspective. Now, put a little more power behind that, and with artificial intelligence. So adding, like I said before, chatbots to be able to not only interact with the person, with the user, but also pull up information that user may need based on that conversation, or direct that user to a person or another area in which they can further understand what their needs are and address the needs of the customer. So it's all through understanding the customer needs, using natural language processing to understand what the customer is typing in, and putting it the customer to the right people. That's all enhancing knowledge management, and all is winning as a winning formula for companies that I've worked with. And so it's encouraged them to do more in the knowledge management space. So some of the challenges, you talk about the challenges, right? So I know early on it's about understanding what knowledge management is. Are we really managing knowledge? And how do we do that? And so actually breaking it down to people and process first, and then technology to help move it forward, allow me to have a level of education with my clients, to give them an idea of why they should use knowledge management, and actually developing a case for knowledge management. That is huge for your organization, to develop a case for knowledge management. I work with a lot of companies to get their arms around knowledge management strategy. What is knowledge management? What is the company's definition of knowledge management? So a lot of times, if you get 10 knowledge management experts in the room and ask them the definition of knowledge management, you probably get 10 different definitions. My take on that is to have a definition that resonates with your organization, that your people can readily remember and just talk about immediately without thinking about it. And that all fits into your strategy, your mission and vision of what knowledge management is for you, fits your business case, and then you can align your people and processes to those things that really matter to your organization, and then bring in the technology as an enabler. So, and that technology now, that's not only includes knowledge management, the essence of collaborating and sharing and what you know, but also a level of artificial intelligence in the form now of some Gen AI work, predictive analytics, to put your knowledge on I wouldn't say on steroids to really make it pop, but really to add more innovation and insights into your knowledge ecosystem. So the challenge is having companies and clients understand what knowledge management is, how AI can infuse your knowledge platform and ecosystem to enable better innovation and insights. Yeah. And just speaking in a way that demystifies all that to enable them to really grab hold of it.
No, I think that's great. And if I can, lot of really good themes to take out of that. I think that definition of, we run into that a lot, right? Where the definition of KM or what success metrics look like is really different by company, or even within companies, sometimes by person. So having ways to establish clear objectives and clear definitions is key. I think, one of the things, it's implied, I think, in what you said too, is, we're seeing this, the reality of maybe AI and human workers having this interdependency. And that can be challenging and hopefully can be inspiring. And so, when I've seen knowledge management really work, it's been, the connection to the information is key, right? To your point on search, ultimately, it's about, getting that knowledge to the point, to the person at the point of inflection. But there's also this connection of SMEs, right? And being able to capture tactic knowledge, being able to tap into those SMEs for the application of knowledge and insight, not just the kind of the finding of it. And so, we can tap into some of these concerns too. I think there is a lot of concern from folks, like as AI becomes a bigger priority, how does that affect a role, for a human worker, right? And so it's easy for some to say, well, we're gonna, we've heard this, right? I think from different companies, we're going to add AI, and that's going to allow us to do X, Y, or Z with a smaller workforce or more distributed workforce. But I've also heard you say, maybe this kind of rolls into the next question, that, implementing AI is not a knowledge management solution in and of itself. Maybe a little bit of exposition on, what that means to you, right? Yeah, so I'll let you kind of take it.
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of companies will pick out a AI solution. Oh, yeah, this is knowledge management. And even some of the vendors will promote an AI solution as a knowledge management solution. And so if you're really looking for a holistic knowledge management solution, you got to think about the ability to capture, share, transfer knowledge, right? And that's part of collaboration through communities of practice. Like I said earlier, it's around understanding the knowledge and the context of it, and all those facets, right? Because knowledge management is and it's not all about technology. It's about people and process first. Now, artificial intelligence is about the technology, right? It's about the technology and how it can deliver either insights or deliver new knowledge or create new knowledge for you. It's not about collaborating, it's not about sharing, which is major pillars of knowledge management. AI, like I said earlier, is an enhancer of knowledge management, right? It gives you better context of the knowledge you find in the search through semantic search engines and using natural language processing, which is all a pillar of AI. Gen AI, which is very popular in the public eye, allows you to create knowledge from other knowledge. So it's not a holistic, what I would call a holistic KM system. It enhances the capabilities of a KM system, right? So it actually boils down to this: what is my business case for either KM or AI or this solution? What does my organization need? I don't ever go after technology for technology's sake. Don't think you just the fear of missing out, right? To get the new shiny toy. Understand how this technology is going to better your organization, enable your people to be more effective, and on another point, yeah, you can bring in AI technology and it can replace certain types of people's duties. I've always been a proponent of having a plan. So when you bring in that type of technology, don't think you're going to eliminate people. Don't come in there with the aspect, I'm going to eliminate people, I'm going to save all this money, because you may eliminate people or get rid of people that you really need to help monitor and maintain that AI solution. But you also want to be able to upskill or reskill your people to be able to take on other jobs, because AI is going to create new jobs that right now we may not fully understand. So my thing is to have a plan, have a look at the capabilities of what your organization is trying to do, look at what you need to upskill or reskill your people that you may move off of some of those duties. Like I was saying earlier about the customer service area, AI is going to replace level one customer service. I mean, I can see that happening very soon if it's not already happening. It's going to replace level one customer service. So you need to upskill those level one to take care of level two or level three type of situations, because traditionally level three is that staff member actually developing or doing another job that's takes most of his time. But if you have customer service reps that have been reskilled or retrained to take level two and level three, then that frees up your people to do other things that the company needs. So have a plan going forward. Have an idea of what you need to do and try to execute that, and be flexible and iterative on what you do and bringing in an AI application.
No, I really appreciate that. And I'm having worked, myself at, different bigger kind of monolithic corporate companies in the Fortune 100, a lot of times what happens is you get, a C-suite person saying, I need that. And then everybody kind of scatters to go get, whatever the flavor of the day is, right? Like, and AI tends to be one of those things, I think, that's captured that. But to your point, like, you really do need to have a purpose-built plan of, what problems this is going to solve, and then put it into the application of that. I want to switch gears a little bit, because, there's a topic that actually was one of the topics that brought you and I together after hearing you speak. And, as Bloomfire has been developing AI solutions and knowledge management for our clients over the last year plus, generative AI, I'll say, over the last year plus, we really had this kind of mantra, like, look, we're going to do things securely, we're going to do things with accuracy, and we're going to do things wherever we can ethically, right? And so you speak a lot on ethical AI. You're considered an expert in the space. You've written extensively about it. Can you explain, ethical AI to the audience, and some reasons why, this, adopting that within the track that a company takes, whether you're developing an LLM or not, why that's important?
Yeah, it hits home in a lot of different areas. So when you look at ethical AI, the ethical use and responsible use of AI, you look at a few pillars, I would call them. One is accountability. Make sure that someone in the organization is accountable for the performance and how the AI system acts, or what decisions it helps you make. And accountability really refers to having a human in the loop. You hear about that a lot, having a human in the loop. Human-centered AI. Stanford University has a whole area that focuses on human AI. It's that human and AI interaction that we need to make sure we adhere to and incorporate in what we do. So first thing is accountability. The next thing is transparency, right? Knowing that if I allow my data, personal data, to be used, I want to know how it's going to be used, where it's going to be used at, and if the system is decommissioned, where is my data going to go? Is it going to come back to me, or can I opt in or opt out of that situation? Having a level of transparency, and that has to be documented. That has to be made aware to the public or to your users or who's interacting with your system. So the next thing you have is privacy, right? Accountability, transparency, and privacy. Now, as citizens of the U.S. or global citizens, you want to make sure you have a level of privacy of what you do, your personal data, because you have devices, wearables that collect personal medical data, and you're opting in, opting out of, different things on the internet. You want to make sure that who and what you're interacting with the AI system has some sort of policy on privacy readily available on their public-facing sites, not buried somewhere, but readily available and visible. And you should be able to hold that organization to those privacy statements and to be able to tell you how they are executing their privacy. The other piece to AI ethics is, of course, algorithmic bias. Now, this is where a lot of my conversations have been around, is understanding algorithms are used from hiring practices to getting financial loans or any financial considerations for a lot of financial institutions, in healthcare. Algorithms are used everywhere. And so we need to have a level of removing bias from the algorithms. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, right? There's because of the technical nature of algorithms and this whole idea of black boxes, because, we don't know what's in there. Well, there are actually methods and tools to understand how this algorithm is working, why it's just delivering the decisions it's delivering. And so be able to have a level of explainability and a level of traceability within those algorithms to weed out the bias. And so, that's a lot what a lot of the conversations are going around when you use Gen AI products to do image generation and the biased nature of what those results look like. And then that level of large language models and their errors being made and what's being delivered from that, the quote unquote hallucinations, which that's a word I hate, but that's those errors that the LLM is making. Sometimes you got to look at and discern what is delivering, because there could be a lot of bias in that delivery of that information of what the LLM is giving you. And so we have to be aware and cognizant of the systems we use and the AI that's used within the systems, and to make sure that these organizations have that stated policies on ethics, on privacy, and things of that nature that are very visible for you. And then on top of it, all of that, you have regulations. The EU AI Act, the White House AI Bill of Rights, and the Executive Order, NIST organization. You have IEEE. I'm just talking about some of the ones that are here in the States, OECD, and over in Europe. And so many several organizations, so many that are developing standards around AI and how you govern it and what the ethical profile should be. And so there is an entire global movement to get our arms around the ethical development and implementation and use of AI. So I'm get off my soapbox there, but those are the levels you look at. But then algorithmic bias is such a deep situation, and we are constantly involved in working with that we as the public need to be advocates for our own data and how these systems working.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And, I think, you can pick out, news articles about different companies and some of the, ways that bias can get introduced and the unintended consequences that have, right? Like, it's probably going to be something that swallows up a lot of the consciousness of decision makers over the next couple of years. It's just, how do you, ensure accuracy and impartiality, right? Right. To make sure that, to make sure that the information, especially in a knowledge management setting, is free of that bias to be able to make decisions off of. Right. I'm going to jump ahead. I know you. Yeah, I know you've written extensively on that. I encourage anyone on the webinar to seek you out or to seek out one of your books. And you've done recent work. I'm going to jump ahead to, more maybe just a little bit of a discussion on future of work, right? And so, as we start to see the application of AI systems, as we start to kind of see that convergence of knowledge management and AI and enterprise search, one of the things that you recently authored is, this perspective on some of the, we'll call it the software solutions that, as part of a bigger knowledge management push, can be very effective at helping to facilitate that. And, this was really designed to, influence decision makers, to help give them information so they can have your expert perspective. I know it's been well received in the KM industry. We obviously, partnered to help distribute that. We were part of that. But as you went through that evaluation process, what were some of the qualities that stuck out to you as being, critical to be considered, a solid or a best solution?
That's a great question. So, embarking on this analysis, I developed 12 areas to really focus on. What I wanted to do, because KM and AI, now the other KM vendors are incorporating AI within their solution. That was one of the things I was looking at, is how well that's being done or not. But what I looked at is not only from a technology perspective and the progressiveness of the AI within the KM solution from these vendors, but I also looked at some other key areas like security. You talked about AI ethics, and one of the pillars is privacy, and privacy and security work hand in hand to be able to secure not only what the KM system overall was doing, but what AI embedded in that system was also executing as well. So security was a big piece of this, and we all know that each criteria is not weighted equal. And so, based on my experience with quite a lot of the vendors I worked with as in part of this analysis, I came up with a weighted scale and weights on certain aspects of the analysis. So security was a huge piece of this. The other piece I think that would really differentiate it is the return on investment or total cost of ownership. Now, a lot of vendors would tell you that we can do this or we can do that. They can probably do just about anything. But see, what does that boil down to? Is it a customization or a configuration? A customization will allow them, would say, oh, with the right professional services and developers, I can add on some functionality to meet your need. Or a customization, oh, this is part of the product, and this is how you configure or enable that. So that is another thing that I really looked at, and what's the resources needed to manage and maintain and help build this product. The other piece is customer service. Now, you may not think about this from a technical perspective, but you think about that from an ownership perspective. If I was an organization, I was investing in a platform, I would definitely need customer service, because things go wrong, things evolve, your needs and how you use the system will evolve. So you need a touch point, a area within the vendor that would be proactive in answering your questions, and something that can be quick turnaround as well. And a lot of customer service aspects of these vendors, yeah, they provide great customer service, but some of them at a cost that will then funnel back down to that ROI and total cost of ownership. Or some put that within the whole package of the tool, which is that's a separator. How proactive is this organization in standing by its product and enable me as the customer organization to be able to use the product in the way that I want to use it. And so that is looked at. And we had a number of other qualities to understand. But one of the things I wanted to do with these different vendors is making sure that I looked at apples to apples. So I can talk about a couple of vendors that like Microsoft. And I looked specifically at SharePoint and Copilot. Now, I didn't consider the whole Microsoft ecosystem, right? I considered only SharePoint and Copilot and how that works together. Salesforce. I didn't look at Salesforce as the whole ecosystem of Salesforce, but the KM piece in Salesforce and how does that work? Oracle, which these organizations and tools and solutions I'm very familiar with. Oracle is fantastic, but the total cost of ownership, the specialization of skills needed to manage and maintain and wield that solution is a factor. Yeah. So things like that kept coming up, but overall, I mean, from across the board, these organizations and applications deliver a certain level of knowledge management expertise in their solution that really adheres to the pillars of knowledge management. Some better than others, and then some deliver better than others a level of AI within that solution. And so, looking at all of that in consideration, from a not only just from my experience, but also from talking to other people that use the product, and from a customer service perspective, since I need to dive more into the customer service, I looked at areas like G2, for instance, and their and Trustpilot for their information on the particular vendors, customers, and how they rate them, what type of comments they've given to the particular vendor. All that matters, right? All that matters in the solution. However, that's on the baseline. That's the baseline evaluation. But we all know, as an organization, there are a lot of other factors you have to consider. One is your already current investment in your technology stack. Now, if I'm an Oracle client, I have Oracle within my platform, it may make a lot more sense for me to bring in an Oracle KM product that interacts with all my other Oracle pieces than to bring in another vendor that you have to work with to integrate with the other products. And that was another area of evaluation, is how well do they integrate, not just with your own ecosystem, but outside of your ecosystem, right? How does it integrate? Some products that did not have a repository at all tied to it was integrated with other repositories. So that's had some flexibility, but then if you wanted to get off a platform repository, that may not be the product for you. So it's things of that nature you have to really understand. At the end of the day, it comes down to what we talked about earlier, your business case for using this, and your use cases for why you want to bring this type of product in and what you expect it to do, and the underlying requirements that you needed to fulfill. So the analysis actually took several months. I mean, this, for me, it was, sort of a passion, right? Because of my background in AI and knowledge management, how things come together, and wanting to see where is the industry going, who are the players, and mind you, there's a lot more players out here than we looked at, but we looked at some of the major guys, right? Some of the major guys out here, including Bloomfire, right? So Bloomfire was not saved from the scrutiny. So it's about understanding better the whole ecosystem and all the vendors involved, and that was really my passion for doing this and being able to get this type of analysis out in the marketplace. And then
I know the response has been really positive, and again, we appreciate being part of it. And I think, to your point, right, there is this kind of new convergence of products that are trying to solve old problems, the cost implications are always going to be there. Maybe the last question, we'll end on this one because there's a couple good queries I want to get to from the audience. And this actually plays into one of the questions. And so we'll end here and then I'll get to some of those. And just so people are aware, as part of the follow-up to the session, David's going to send out a summary that includes a link to the Ultimate Knowledge Guide, which Tony produced. So you don't have to take notes or anything. Probably should have led with that because. But let's end with this question, maybe Tony, and then we'll get to some of the audience questions. What maybe advice would you give to organizations that are just starting to or trying to implement KM and AI strategies? I think depending on the org, and I've worked at old school type of companies, right? Like with hierarchies or matrices, and what do they need to be thinking about? What do the CEOs need to understand about this intersection of KM and AI, and how should they be thinking about that as they prepare for this kind of transformational workforce of the future?
The best thing I can say is to start out with is to educate yourself. Educate yourself on the different capabilities of the knowledge management space from a technology perspective, and educate yourself on the different types of AI. And if you're interested in Gen AI, educate yourself on that and how that plays in the whole ecosystem. Understand where and you just have to be honest. Understand where your company is in this maturity level and bringing in a KM solution that has these AI capabilities. Understand where you are and where you want to go is another aspect of this. Say, get a complete understanding from a technology perspective, a people and cultural perspective of where you are in your knowledge management journey. Understand your maturity level. Understand what you need to bring in as far as technology that can help, shorter gaps and move the company forward. Understand where artificial intelligence will play a role. And in particular, you look at the type of artificial intelligence. And we're talking more from the Gen AI and machine learning, predictive analytics side of the house, natural language processing, semantic search, things of that nature that will enable that, adoption of the products and processes, and enable your workforce to work smarter and better. It's just educating yourself and understanding where you are as a company and organization, and then just aligning that to your knowledge and what the companies out there are doing, vendors out there doing, to what is more prevalent for you as an organization to go after.
No, I think that's wise. We both you and I and Bloomfire, right? We intersect with a lot of companies at different parts of their journey, right? That level of maturity and readiness is always something we try to help with, right? I would add probably to that again, maybe it's a little bit self-serving, as a provider. Look, technology is part of it, right? We feel like at Bloomfire, we've got a pretty solid answer for knowledge management and bringing AI into an organization that's purpose-built for that. But at the same time, right, like just having a technology solution is not ultimately going to be the difference between success and not success, right? Having the right implementation team, having the right customer support team after the fact, and having the right set of internal brand ambassadors, stakeholders, contributors is always going to be a needed part of it. So yeah, let's maybe transition into a couple questions in the remaining time. I appreciate folks putting them in. If you've got some, for those on the call, feel free to add them, and if we can address them, we will. Maybe the first one I would go to is this. As AI proliferates, Tony, are there any strategies you've seen be effective to help balance between kind of the sheer volume of inputs you can put into a system versus kind of the quality of inputs you can put into a system?
Well, you're talking about data, right? And
data, knowledge, whatever the case may be.
Because data comes in a lot of different forms, from data that's in structured data in databases to unstructured data, like in content, where there's a PDF, MS Word doc, or PowerPoint, and some spreadsheet, whatever. And so it's the quality of that, and make sure that you curate your content in a way that is that the system can ingest it. What do I mean by curate? It's organizing your content, and though that's using information architecture principles. If you want, I encourage everybody to look up information architecture and what it means and how it's used, because what it does, it structures your content in a way that, one, is easier for the search engine to index and bring it up in the search. It makes it easier for the UI, UX people that build these systems, system interfaces, to better work with your content. And so it's a matter of curating and getting the content in a state that it can be used, and making sure that you are using the trusted content, the trusted information, right? So everything boils down to having the right content structured in the right way that can be utilized on the platform and delivered to your users in the right context, in the right form. Mm-hmm. So it's information architecture is a key to making that happen, and understanding that, and that's the data. And if you look at any AI application, well, that deals with data, you know that trusted, curated source of data enables the application to work better and give you better results. Another thing I will take a look at is the implementation of knowledge graphs. Now, that may do a little more research on knowledge graphs. Knowledge graphs take advantage of an ontological framework to enable searches to work better, enable your large language models to work better, because it's already interfacing with a technology that has identified the layers of connectiveness within your data, whether it be unstructured or structured data. And that allows the large language model to work better in understanding the connectiveness of the data that you're querying through natural language processing interface, to actually bring you the right decisions, the right information that you prompting it for, or that you're searching for, or that you're organizing on your UI UX. A knowledge graph technology, I think, is going to be the future of large language models, or language models, period. And not all language models are based on this transformer architecture, but if you layer it with interfacing with a knowledge graph to bring in some more context to your content or to your data, right, through relationships built in a knowledge graph, that enables the large language model to work better. That enables any machine learning to work better, because machine learning is all about algorithms. Algorithms are all about connectiveness of your data. So those are the things that I think will be something that's coming, some things that you need to understand, moving forward with knowledge management and AI.
Yeah, and I think we're unfortunately about out of time. I think the only thing I would add to that, from our perspective, or my perspective, is we have a concept that we talk a lot about here, which is making sure that you have an understanding of your knowledge in terms of rot, right? And so for a lot of organizations, I saw this when I was a practitioner, working at corporate clients. I'm seeing it now as a partner to to many corporate clients is a lot of information kind of suffers from rot. And that's the idea of being redundant, outdated, and trivial, right? And so having, the right tools in place to help identify that, to clean through it, right, and allow those admins of the system to address it, or to, where I think it's going to move is that it's going to be automatically addressed, as well as, this idea of the deep indexing of your search to the point where, it's very easy to bring in everything. It's a lot harder to bring in the right things. And so having a certified knowledge base as part of, even if it ends up being an enterprise search system, I think is really critical, right? What is that true one source of truth type of area for the organization that you always have information that's not rotted is important. So I'll just add that to the fire. But yeah, so and David needs a few minutes to kind of back clean up here to give folks next steps and to tell you the good stuff that's still coming. But Tony, always a pleasure. I always feel smarter after talking to you, but also like I need to go do a lot more research. So appreciate your insights and expertise, and it's a pleasure, and I look forward the next time we get a chance to sit down and talk. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for inviting me to speak at this webinar. Always enjoy talking to you. It's more of a conversation and just back and forth. So
yep.
Definitely enjoy it. And hey, reach out anytime. And I'd like to thank David for moderating and hosting this thing as well. And thank you for everybody who attended. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions or anything you'd like for me to help you with. From our organization, Rhem Associates, we'd be more than happy to
David, come on board. David, I know that's part of the package, right? So I'll let you finish this off.
Yeah. So if you want all that information today, you can access Tony on LinkedIn, and his website's also linked in his profile over on the side of the console here. You'll also see the Ultimate Guide to Knowledge Management. Again, that's available to you right now in a PDF. We'll also send a link as a follow-up so you can go to our website and download that. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You will be hearing from us. This session was recorded, so give us a couple hours to get everything processed and everything, and you'll see this in your email, so you can go back and reference this as you guys go on this journey. So Dan, Tony, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this great conversation. I think it's been incredibly insightful, and like Dan mentioned, I think I'm smarter now than I was an hour ago. So Tony, I appreciate those insights.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.
We'll see you on the next one.